Alright, let's just get this shit underway then. Okay, Scar's fucking AFK, so never mind.
It's like, yo, let's get this shit. Oh yeah, I'm a bounce. Be right back.
Alright, welcome back. Sebastian's AFK. Alright, let's just all fucking AFK. Alright, I'm getting trolled now.
Yo.
Hey, alright. Ladies and gentlemen, episode number 10 of Beyond the Rift. Season 2, starring the one and only I'm a Cutie Pie, the world's best, world's greatest, known by many titles. I don't need to introduce myself at this point. Scar, though, give him a quick intro for who you are.
What's up, guys? I'm the TCS support finalist. I'll be playing tomorrow. I'm also teammates with I'm a Cutie Pie, world-renowned best AD in North America. And I'm here to present to you our guest, our special guest from Clutch Gaming.
And our special guest, Sebastian. Who are you?
Hey guys, what's up?
Dude, nothing much, man. Give him a quick intro for who you are, though.
Yeah, sure. My name is Sebastian Park. I am the director of esports development for the Houston Rockets, and now I run Clutch Gaming, which is a newly accepted LCS team.
Wait, you run Clutch Gaming? Jesus.
Yeah. So it's a weird system, but like basically. I'm in charge of Clutch Gaming now, so.
Oh, damn. Alright. Well, shit. Before we get this underway with the questions, I want to give a quick shout out. Discord, amazing service. We're on it right now. Live question and answer at the end of the show. If you guys love asking questions, this is your go-to spot. Download it down below. Ask your questions. We got answers. You know the deal. But let's get it underway. Let's start it off with the topic. So we'll go straight into it with topic number 1. How does someone go from being the ex-CEO of Team Archon to the director of esports development for an NA/LCS team?
That's a good question. So, I mean, like, let's see. I got started in esports back in 2014. If you guys remember a domain registrar called Namecheap, they sell domain names, they support net neutrality, stuff like that, and did like user acquisition and sponsored esports teams back then. So sponsor like pre-Curse merger Team Liquid, Team Tempo Storm, Team Archon, a bunch of other teams, and then fast forward 2015, we were able to join Team Archon, did all that for a bit. We had a Dota team, Dota team, a Hearthstone team. Hearthstone team was pretty good. Dota team like made a couple majors. We made TI once a year. Like we went I think 0-16, but like it was pretty solid. And so then like about like a year ago now, like a year and change ago, the Houston Rockets just reached out and were like, "Hey, are you interested in interviewing for a job to be our like director of esports development?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, I love to be working in esports for the Houston fucking Rockets. That sounds awesome."
It was just that out of the blue. They just messaged you one day, like nothing before that, and just, "Hey, you want to do an interview?"
Like legit, I was in San Francisco just doing some like off-end things, and they actually were just like, "Hey, so Daryl Morey, who's the GM of basketball for the Houston Rockets, wants to talk to you. Do you want to talk to him?" And I'm like, "Yes."
Oh my god!
So,
Jeez.
I don't know if a lot of people know this, but I was a huge Rockets fan when I was younger. Now I don't really watch them anymore. I think I watched up until the James Harden acquisition, but like my family used to come together around Rockets games, and we used to go like watch them. Like they were big Yao Ming fans. I watched T-Max like 13 and 30. Like I'm really big on the Houston Rockets. Right?
And we got to come back into the fold, man. It's a good time out here. We got Chris Paul now. We got James Harden. We got Capella. We got a lot of really good guys out here. So it's a lot of fun too. Basketball is exciting. The crowd energy is great.
Okay. Before we move on from this question, though, I'm really interested. Like, so I don't know if a lot of people even know what Team Archon is. Team Archon, like, I think started from the Hearthstone scene. I think it started with you and the Moz. Is it weird going from like Hearthstone as like branching from Hearthstone over to here? Because from what I understand, Team Archon had to actually close down its doors a while ago and like doesn't exist anymore. Like it wasn't like you stepped down from being the CEO and you went to go do this. It's like it doesn't exist, period.
Yeah, so the team actually started between Backspace, Brent Caskell, who I think is a manager over I actually think he's Ice Poseidon's manager now. Over at NRG, which is like the most absurd thing. And then like bailing that guy out of jail all the time. And then on the flip side, you had Amaz who does his thing. I actually joined them about a year after they started. I had sponsored them first, and so joined their team. Was there, and I actually left like 7 months before I took the Rockets job. And so the team has moved to Las Vegas. There's a lot of stuff happening there. They were moving towards becoming more of a streaming team than a competitive esports team. And I was like, hey man, like I love streaming. I think streamers are awesome. TwitchCon is my jam, but I'm more on the esports side. And so I stepped back, left the team, did some more stuff on the side. And so I actually don't know how necessarily they closed. I do know that a lot of the guys got picked up by NRG. So like a lot of the former Archon guys are NRG, and a lot of the former players are killing it elsewhere. Like my boy Moo, who was on our Dota team, took second at TI, and now is on Complexity doing well. And like Zalay and Firebad and Orange are still killing it in Hearthstone. So
okay, was it weird doing the interview with the guy from the Houston Rockets? Because I can't imagine. I mean, I don't know how it was for you, but for me, like imagining something like that, I wouldn't even fucking know like what to say to someone like that. So.
Yeah, man. The first interview was pretty crazy. They were like, "Yo, we're at this hotel," which I can't say, but like they're at this like fancy hotel in LA. And it's like, "You want to come down and talk to us?" It's like, "What are you guys doing down there?" "Oh, we're going to the Lakers home opener. We're playing the Lakers. So you just come meet us at this hotel." And I'm like, "Sure." I'm like, "Well, okay." So I like book a flight. I head down to LA, like borrow like my brother's car, drive to this fancy hotel in like Beverly Hills or whatever. And then I'm like, "Hey, what do you guys want to talk about?" And they're like, "Yo, just tell me about esports." And Daryl Morey's been in esports since, I don't know, like 2013. He was like on the board of MLG back like pre all this craziness. So he's been like a huge fan of all this stuff. And so he was just like, "Yo, what are your thoughts on like Overwatch or League of Legends or Counter-Strike? And are there any new games coming out?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man." And we just talked for a couple hours. And then afterwards he was like, "Yo, so you want to come to dinner?" And I'm like, "Sure, I'll come to dinner with you." And he's like, "Do you want to come watch the game?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I'll come watch the game with you." And then like flew in and like it was just like that. And then we interviewed more, talked to the CEO Tad Brown, talked to the then owner Leslie Alexander, and they were just like, "Yeah, we think you're great. Do you want to come run this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sounds good to me, man."
Wow.
Damn. Well, before we move on from this topic, I just want to ask you. You said that he asked you about what you thought of League and Overwatch. What are your thoughts on the Overwatch? Like, whatever the fuck it is that it's called over there, and the League LCS.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're big fans of the LCS. There's a reason why we're here as opposed to there, I think Overwatch is a fun game. I actually think it's like a lot of people have like super negative opinions about Overwatch in the scene, especially people who are like watching. A lot of my colleagues who run other teams like have like fairly negative opinions. I think it's legit. Like, I think it's a pretty good game. I think there's a lot of potential for it. But like, it's just like it's like comparing something that's like already established and big. Like League of Legends is huge, right? Like the LCS is a thing, and comparing that to something that's, more up and down is like comparing like a startup to like Google. So.
Okay. Fair enough. Let's go to the next one then. So we got in an endeavor of this magnitude, how early do you start looking for staff? Is it right when you submit the application for the team or after it's accepted?
So yeah, I gotta say, man, the smart business thing to do would be to wait until after you're accepted into the league and then spend the money to do things. Because the thing is, like, you don't want to like be the guy who's like, "Yo, owner boss, like I'm gonna spend a bunch of your money hiring these guys to figure this out. And then if it doesn't work out, I'm sorry for wasting like a lot of your money," right? You want to be the guy who's like, "Oh, we got in, now we'll start spending your money and we'll like go win." But we didn't think we were going to learn fast enough for that. So what ends up happening is that we actually made our first hire in the LCS related top things like back in February this year. So like we spent like 3 months looking, and in February we hired our first guy. We hired a guy named Shakarez, like the analyst, I think in like May. We hired a couple more scouts for North America and for Asia in June. And like, I think we turned in our application like July 7th or something like that. So we had like 4 or 5 guys by the time we had the application in, and now we're whatever right now because it's like, oh, it's a lot less stressful because we have these guys who've been working on this for months now, just like figuring out the scouting players, watching a lot of footage, stuff like that.
So you hired your first guy 9 months ago.
Yeah.
Holy.
It's like not a recommended business decision. Like you should definitely save your money. And like for what's worth, like it's not like we thought that we were getting in, right? Like I think like we were like internally, yeah, like there's like a 20-30% chance of us getting in. It'll be really great if we get in. If it doesn't get in, well, it's been fun working for the Rockets for a year. I guess I'll go move back to San Francisco.
So you guys have the whole staff already now then for your team?
You know, we're still hiring a few more people. So like we're looking for like, I mean like if anyone in chat is like a really good like salesperson, sure, we're looking for like a couple of salespeople still to like work with our guys on the Rocket side because they don't know esports as well. We're pretty good on most fronts. We're finalizing some things with a few more analysts. We have a different coaching structure that we're trying to implement compared to some of the other LCS teams. And then on top of that, one of the funny things that we did was we actually like scouted every coach and analyst as well. So we have a list of like how we rank all our scouts and analysts. And that list is like, you know, up and down. There's a lot of like hearsay in there, but it's like a pretty fun list that we've been just going down the list and interviewing people.
Okay. Sky, you got anything?
No, dude, I'm good with this one.
All right, let's go to as a new franchise team, how do you acquire a competitive roster that can compete in the NALCS?
Man, that's hard. We've been working on it a lot. I'm sure Jacob will keep talking about it. But basically, the big thing that we were trying to do was make sure that we're prepared ahead of time, not only with option A, but option B, C, D, E, F, and G, like all the way down. Like Cutie, you're on our list for ADCs, and you've been there, and you've been like the point is like if you're above that list, like we want to talk to you. If you're below, we probably don't want to talk to you. And so it's one of those things where we were just like prepared, man. Like if we were like in a real rut, we would have definitely reached out.
That's smart decision making right there. That would have made a good ass team. Wait, have you guys announced who your AD is yet?
No, we haven't. We haven't announced anything.
Well, stay tuned, Twitch chat, because you heard what the man said.
Like a lot of people try to be like really ambitious the first year, and some orgs work out, right? I think the first iteration of Immortals like did great. I think they were in the domestic season. Where are you guys looking to land with a roster? Like, are you like first year we're looking for like top 3, or like we're looking for top 2? Or are you just like you're just building like your kind of org out, so you guys would be happy with like being middle of the pack even?
Look, I mean, a couple things, right? We're not Steve. We can't like go buy everyone in the scene. Like that's not what we do with the Houston Rockets, right? Like that's just not us. We're just trying to be a little bit better about it. We view the world, and this might sound a little pedantic, but we view the world like super probabilistically. We think like if you're like, for example, a first place caliber team, you can, you know, finish either first, second, some of the time, third, some of the time, fourth, some of the time. But you probably never finish like fifth, sixth, or seventh, or 8th or 9th or 10th, right? But if you're like a 6th place caliber team, you can finish first sometimes and finish last sometimes, right? Our goal from the get-go was like, let's try to make worlds, right? Let's make worlds year 1. Let's try to like shoot for the moon year 2. But we understand that we're at a huge disadvantage. We don't have existing contracts. We can't transfer for players ahead of time. Our staff had to be built up, and we couldn't talk to people about it. And so we knew that it was going to take a little bit of time to get there. And so what we tried to do in the meantime was, hey, let's take a step back. Let's see if the best roster we can put together with the goal of making it to Worlds. And I think we're getting pretty close. I think it's one of those rosters where like we're probably going to be solidly in the conversation, definitely making playoffs, we hope. And then, you know, once you're in playoffs, there's enough variance in the best of 1 format to be able to, you know, win spring or win summer or win the gauntlet and get to Worlds. So that's sort of where we're at right now.
Well, let me ask you, because I saw on Reddit that there's a post about, who was it? It was some days like he has like a year contract for $700K, right, or some shit.
Yes, and then Impact had quoted that around like $1 million. And I think a lot of these top players are raking in.
Yeah, I want to ask you, do you think that those are sustainable at all? Because I read those and I'm just like, damn, that's really fucking good because I want esports to like blow up. But I like look at that and I'm like, I mean, with franchising, I guess it's possible, but how do you feel about that if those are true?
Yeah, I mean, so if those numbers are true, and from what I've been hearing, they probably are. It's hard to say. Like people, you also have to remember that people like intentionally lie. They're trying to misdirect you, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna tell you this number so that like it inflates the market for other people and stuff like that. So that does happen, but let's just assume that these numbers are real. I think it's just a question of whether or not the league grows fast enough, or like there's enough revenue that's coming into the league to support it. Like one of the crazy things, right, about the like impact deal, right? It's possible, like if it's what's being reported, that's a lot of money for now. That's a lot of money for this year. But it might look really good 2-3 years from now. And this happens in the NBA all the time, where right, like you like sign a max break guy like Klay Thompson with the Warriors, and like his contract looks really expensive year one, but now it looks like the freaking bargain of the century. Like Steph Curry, the same thing. Like there are those type of changes if we assume that the space is going to get more expensive. So we may just all come back out of this and think, hey man, Steve is a genius. He foresaw the like increasing cost of everything. He's the kind of guy who was a visionary in this type of thing. Or it might come back that he was wrong and that the space can't sustain that level of compensation. And then you'll see a contraction back down to more reasonable levels.
Okay. And I guess for the last question about NALCS is, you guys are required to have an academy team. How's that? Do you know how that's going to work? Like, what exactly is the academy team going to be doing, or what are your plans with them?
Yeah, so I mean, we definitely have scouting grounds coming up next week. So we'll be out there at scouting grounds. That's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch that. Academy is a little bit interesting, right? Because theoretically, it'll allow us to take shots on people who historically wouldn't have been given the opportunity to take shots, right? It could also give you like a lot of really good value in terms of, there are only 10 LCS spots at starter spots for everyone, right? And if you import, and let's say about like 2 per team is imported, that might be a little bit generous, but let's say there's like of the 50 full-time starter positions, 20 are imported. That means there's only 30 slots for like hundreds of North American players. And so that means that there's probably people out there who are pretty good or about to become pretty good who just aren't signed yet. And Academy League ostensibly allows you to sign them, develop them, help them teach your style, get them to understand macro at the like LCS level without like, having the like side. Like the problem with a lot of challenger teams historically, right, is that they want to become LCS teams. And so what they would do is they would like sign all the best players they can, hope to win challenger, and then fire all of them and then replace them with like pros that they like. And so in this system, because there's no up and down movement, it's actually more stable for like developing players. You can like sign a player with the idea of developing them such that they can become a starter in the future, or trade them to someone else.
Sky, have they announced how exactly the academy is is it gonna be running like with?
It's gonna be running concurrently, but all I've heard is they will more than likely be playing games, and that's it. I know that you are required to have a roster, and there will be games. I know nothing about the format, nothing about anything. So I don't even know if Riot knows fully. Like, I think they're still figuring out stuff. Cause it's like, and like, that's what worries me. It feels like Academy is kind of always, or Academy and early Challenger has always been like kind of the, ignored, unwanted stepson. So like, I hope everything works out well, but it feels kind of weird because I do agree that there are a lot of talent that you could scout that's easier to scout in this area. I just don't know how the system's going to work, and that's going to scare people because who was going to want to sign on for an academy team if you don't know when you're going to play, if you don't know how serious the other teams are, aside from like maybe the people who like went all in on the system.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so one cool thing, right, is that like there's actually, it's also possible that like teams, and I know we've had conversations with other teams as well, where it's like, hey man, we don't know what the Riot system necessarily will be, but we can like set up in-house scrims constantly between us. We can set up like, have them be on stage somewhere, like see if Riot approves them like doing some type of like shtick where like players are playing and like we can like try like put them in a reality where fans can come and watch these up and coming guys play. That'd be awesome. And I think you see sort of some of this stuff happening in Korea and China already, So there is a possibility that we might just like steal their system. And I'm all for stealing things from Korea and China. So.
I'm down. Like, if there's even something like, you know, the Tyler Championship Series once a month where all these teams come together to compete, I think that'd be really cool, to be honest. I don't know if Riot will allow that, but I think that'd be super cool.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, but I think it's been really helpful for like scenes like other games, right? So like League is not the first game I've been in. And so in other games, like in Dota, for example, Dota's really famous for having a lot of these small tournaments that pay like $5,000. And it's just like same groups of people just grinding out tournaments. And occasionally, like, a really top-tier team or top-tier guys would jump in because they just want to win $5,000 real quickly and go buy dinner. And so they come in, and they just crush people. But it's actually really valuable to get crushed by people who are better than you. And so, like, that is, like, something that's really helpful.
Yeah, I'd be so down if, like, the Academy team could go back to – you remember how it used to be, Scar, like, before the LCS? If the Academy team was, like – going out to like MLGs and shit, like I don't know if they'll actually allow that, but it's like how you said, like the fans can actually like interact with them easily. That'd be pretty cool, but I think Riot like hates that shit, right? Or no? I don't remember.
I think the biggest thing that Riot really wants large control on everything that they do, and I don't blame them. Right? They started a franchise league worth like $200 million or something like that, $100 million plus dollars. So they would want a lot of control on what gets exposure where. And so I'm assuming that if this does happen, it won't be MLGs. It'll be like the Riot mini championship series. And then maybe they host it online every week and do some stuff with it. I think even if that's the case, it can be cool. But it's at least the Challenger series for me, a bunch of questions. Sorry, the Academy, a bunch of question marks for me. And the only people who have the answers, from what I understand, are Riot.
Yeah, and hopefully they have the answers, and hopefully we'll hear about them soon. I think in the meantime, though, like if you're like an up and coming player, it's sort of a fun system, honestly, right? Like it means that like I don't know about you guys have been around forever, so you know this, but like there are definitely organizations in China that still owe me money, and there are definitely people who like still like will never pay my like salary, and it's been like years since like they've owed me this money, and like there have been challenger teams, right, who have like legit been outside that system. So like they would like make all your money, like, yeah, we'll pay you. And like the joke used to be like, yeah, if you sign with some of these teams, only like take the salary amount you're going to get and like divide it by, or like multiply it by 0.8. Cause like 20% of it you'll never see. Cause by the time it rolls around and like you didn't make it into LCS, they're not going to pay you the rest of their salary, right? And we won't have that problem anymore because like now these teams are tied to the like upper echelon team. If you mess with like a challenger people, then like the ban hammers can come down and like make you pay. So
yeah, thank God for that, because yeah, it used to be the Wild West. But before we move on from this topic, I want to ask you one more thing. You were talking about like a rating system or something. Let me ask you, if you had Ahmed Cutie Pie, what would you rate this player?
So I'm just gonna pull up their scouting report.
You have a scouting report.
Oh, this is gonna be good.
And pull up the scouting report for Scar also.
I don't think we have one for Scar.
I just wanted to hear that. No, I knew the answer. I just wanted to hear it.
Hey, come on, man.
Nah,
I'm gonna let you die tomorrow, dude.
Come on.
Just let you put that.
Nah, I just fucking with you, dude.
Yeah, I mean, so it's like for here it seems like people think you're like incredibly aggressive, able to play a lot of different styles of AD, and don't want to play in LCS. And there's a note that says like,
"Hey, come on!" Who made that report? They just cut me out like that.
And it says right here, like so we have levels, right? So there's like guys who are like, if you're 3 or 4, you're like an academy level player, and if you're like 4 or 5, you're like sub level player, and if you're like 6, you're like maybe a starter, and 7 is definitely a starter.
7.
And you're in the like 6 range.
6?
Maybe.
This guy put me as a sub.
Yeah, although I gotta double check because I don't see the long form right now, but there might be a little bit in there. It's like, look, this guy makes so much money, he's just going to bounce the moment you lose a game. Like, so
I'm just gonna say before we move on from this topic, fire that man that made that. Put me at a 6. Absolutely disgusting. That's a goddamn lie right there. But let's go to the next one. So outside of having a lot of money, how are the Houston Rockets going to directly help support this organization?
Yeah, sure. So that's cool. All of our graphic stuff, all of our like videography, a lot of the like hiring and help has been from the Rockets. Uh, Literally, I'm looking at my screen right now, and I have like a bunch of missed messages from Daryl. I'm sure he's asking me something about something right now. The Tab Brown, our CEO, has been super involved. Gretchen Shear, the chief revenue officer, a lot of the people on the staff the past year have been like helping us grow that up. So like we've been really excited because they're helping us with everything from like stuff you don't think about, like HR. Like HR is super important as it turns out, and so like they're helping us with that. And then they're also helping us with stuff like sponsorships and partnerships and like, hey, here's how you do it in the NBA, and here's how we approach drafting and scouting, and here's how we approach team building, and here's how we approach negotiations and streaming and OTT rights. And so it's just like chilling and like listening to what they have to say, and they've been helping us like throughout.
So they've been taking on a pretty hands-on approach. It's not just throwing money at you and like, hey, go make us some money.
Yeah, no, seriously. So one of the big things that like really sold me for the Rockets was because like if you remember like a year ago now, like a lot of organizations in the NBA went out and just bought teams, right? Like the 76ers bought Dignitas, the Grizzlies invested in Immortals, you had the like Liquid deal like a few months prior to that. And our approach, which was like I think is pretty cool, was like, look, let's not buy something, let's like hire some random dude from San Francisco who's worked in esports for a few years, have him and like work with him to integrate him with the rest of the staff so that when we are able to, if ever, launch something that will be ready to go with everyone. So.
Okay. Sky, you got anything about the Houston Rockets you want to know about?
Is there a chance we get James Harden down in the LCS?
No.
Chris Paul down the LCS cheering for...
No.
Keating?
I'll let him answer, but
I mean, like, there's always a chance, but like, I have no idea. But both James and Chris are really good guys and do a lot of stuff, but like, they gotta go win basketball games. And our esports and basketball schedules actually overlap pretty heavily. So it's really hard for, I think it's really hard for, with the exception maybe NA Summer Finals, for anyone to make an appearance.
Okay.
All right. So both of those NA Summer Finals next year.
Yes, that will happen, Scar. Definitely.
Got it.
So what are the future plans for Clutch Gaming now that they're confirmed in the franchise?
Sure. So like the first thing is that we're not going to be looking at other, right? Like we're focused on League of Legends. And the reasoning for that is like pretty straightforward. Like, look, if you have a room full of smart people, and I think a lot of the guys in esports are pretty smart, the person who generally wins is the person with the most focus. Well, there's some people who are smart. Anyway, but regardless, like we think that focus matters a ton. And so what we're doing right now is basically making sure that we get the LCS thing down. There's a lot we don't know. Like even our initial iteration of the roster that, will come out eventually, we think it's really good, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that it will be good. There are a lot of unknown things, right? Like the things that we always say is like, there are known knowns, things we know. There are known unknowns, things we know we don't know. And there are the unknown unknowns, the things that will screw you because you don't know them. And we know that there's a lot of things we don't know, and we're really afraid of the things we don't know yet.
So you guys are going to be focusing. So if you guys, let's just say you managed to make it to Worlds in the first year, would you like to expand Clutch Gaming to other games? Or would you do that regardless, or?
Yeah, I mean, so that's a great question, right? Like, we're not sure right now, to be completely honest. We just don't know. I think even if we made World, like, we would have to take an honest look. It's like, yo, do we just get really lucky? And, like, we just, like, somehow blew through all these things? Because, like, making Worlds, even if you're the best team, as a component of luck, especially in a best of one regular season leading into the playoffs. And so, because of that, I would say it's definitely the case that if we looked at it and we're like, yeah, we have a really good understanding of this game, let's try other games, or we may consider that. But outside of that, we're really just League of Legends focused. Because we just think there's a lot to learn here.
Well, let me ask you, because this is one that I'm curious about with franchising. So now that it's out, I don't know how other teams are going to be doing it, so I guess it's just about Clutch Gaming, but how are you going to be, are you going to allow your players, like, time to grow? Like, if the first season you guys just go 0-16 or whatever the fuck, like, are you just going to roster's fucking doomed. Let's just fucking scrap it and start over again. Like, what kind of approach would you guys take on that?
It's a good question, right? I think one of the big things for us is that if let's say we go 0-16, we want to know why, right? Like if it's like, we doubt it would be unlikely that everything we've done is wrong, right? Just like how it's unlikely that everything we've done is right. It's definitely the case. It's probably the case that there are some things that went horribly wrong and things went real south. And for those parts, yeah, we'll figure out what happens. But it just also might be like, there might be just a learning curve. There might be something that is hard to do, right? So for example, you guys are experts at this, but like people in the chat probably don't know like how different macro is at the LCS level versus like in the solo queue level, right? The solo queue level, like if you like are an AD and you're like hitting the mid turret, you're like, holy crap, macro, and that's oh crap, you're rotating around. Whereas like there's a lot of like jungle pressure things that are more like nuanced that people need to pick up. And then the second thing is like it'd be really funny, but there's some players who are so transcendently good that they can be great in every meta. But there's some players who are like really freaking good in some metas and like really off on other metas. So it's just a question of like, look, if you're bad in this meta, like why are you bad in this meta? Is there ways to like help you improve this type of meta? Like being like a enchantress support versus like a tank support? Like, can we help you improve at that? Is that something where you're so bad at this that we need to get like someone else to like help you out with that? Like, if that's sort of the thinking there. But for the most part, I think given how much time and how little we've slept the last few days for free agency, our hope is that our roster is solid enough to like get better at this.
Do you have your entire roster already? You're just waiting to announce it?
No. We don't have our entire roster already.
Okay.
We're pretty close, but like I'll leave that to Jacob Wolf and that fake reporter that keeps making stuff up.
When you're looking for like these like rosters of players, who's someone that kind of stood out for you that like you thought was relatively underrated?
I'm a cutie pie.
Wait, can you even share details with that about that with us?
I think the most underrated player in the LCS probably.
Sorry, you cut off right there.
Perfect. All right, we're good.
Nah, give it to me. I want to hear the name. I'm a cutie pie. What was it? I just gotta hear it once.
That was amazing. That was like the perfect time to cut off, right? It's like,
no.
Well, how do we time that perfectly, dude? Okay, let's move on to the next.
Now I've been tantalized. Now I have to hear who is the most underrated in your opinion.
The most underrated player in the LCS last split was probably Hakuho. Is our assessment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I thought he was pretty good. I thought that
he was pretty good.
Yeah, I thought MV's bot lane didn't get enough credit. I thought people downplayed Apollo and Hakuho a whole lot, so I could see that. That wasn't an I'm a cutie pie though, so I'm a little upset by that, but whatever. I want to say though, back to what you were talking about, that what you said about players being good in the meta is a really interesting point that I never thought about for franchising, because yeah, a lot of the times, like, people don't get, like, some people are just like when the jungle's like about hyper aggression, some people are just better than people that only play tanks. And like for a viewer or something, they'll watch and this guy just fell off the face of the earth. He's fucking awful. I don't get it. Why is he so bad? It's like, dude, he just doesn't know how to play hyper aggressive. So for that, when you look to get subs, are you just looking for the best player at the role, or are you trying to find like mix and match puzzle pieces to fill out whatever you think is needed for the team?
But the thing is that we just don't know, right? Like, it's like, you're completely right, dude, right? Like, there are patch changes that change the game like substantially. You just don't know this, right? Like last split or last season, like Ardent Center was basically the same for like half the season, right? And like people just didn't realize how good it was for a while, and they suddenly did. And it's one of those things where, similarly, like when you're watching a lot of games, you generally want to watch a lot of like pro games. You want to like avoid falling into the trap of like, oh yeah, like you're stomping on some like random like D1 like AD in the bot lane. Oh, I guess this champion must be really good. He must be good on this champion, as opposed to like there's a huge skill gap between PewDiePie and this other dude. Like, and that's what's really causing a lot of this stuff. And so our big thing is like that'd be really cool to do eventually. it'd be really awesome to be like, oh yeah, we have these guys. And I think like SKT tries to do this, right? They're like, hey, we have these guys who are really good for this type of role, and these other guys are really good for this type of role, and we're going to swap them back and forth. But like they're able to do it because they can just get like the 7 best players in the world. And so like it's like, oh, I'm going to swap the like best top laner for the second best top laner type of situation. And that's like not necessarily the case for us. And so I think for us, most of the time, and I think this is generally true, is like most people just go after like the best people possible and figure it out later. But hopefully, like as we get better at this, we'll be able to solve some of those things.
Okay. That makes sense. Scar, you got any more questions for the future plans of Clutch Gaming?
I'm just kidding. What do you expect to in like 6 months from now, after the first play is over, to look back on and be like, we probably should have done something a little bit different there, or you think that this is something that like is a big decision that you might want to look back on and be like, maybe we should have done something different at that time. Have you had multiple ones of those so far?
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch. Most of them I can't talk about. But like the couple that do come up are like, you know, when you pick a player and when you sign a player, you like do a lot of due diligence and you sign them, but you're like you're actually reducing your optionality. Like that's like a strictly true statement, right? The moment you lock in a player, that means you can't get any other player at that position to be a starter. Like, I mean, again, if you like are some of these teams that don't have a budget, maybe you can just have 5 people for every position. But for the rest of us, like we need to like figure out, hey, who's the person we picked, right? And it's definitely the case that right now we think we made the right decision. If we didn't, we wouldn't have made the decision. But like, it's possible that like, you know, in the next 6 months, we find out that, you know, one guy has gone like crazy much better. And we just can't project that very well, right? Like it's really hard to figure out how people get better. It sort of happens as a step function, which basically means they don't get better at all for a really long time, then they suddenly become really good. And so those are the like delta things that I like, we'll look back and say, hey, what did we miss here? And so that's sort of what we're trying to figure out.
All right.
Let's go to the next topic then. So why should people be a fan of Clutch Gaming?
This is a freebie, man. Sell us.
No, I don't know, man. This is like the hardest question you've asked today. Like, so.
What?
Yeah, 100%, right? Like, look, I mean, so I think there are like 3 types of fans, right? The first type of fan is like you're already a fan of like CLG or TSM or one of those other teams. Like, my favorite statement I saw on Reddit was that we're like CLG without the L's. You can leave the L's at home. So like, if that's the case, I'm all for that, right? Like, please be a fan of us. There's like it's a pretty good one, right? And there's like a second category of people who like don't have strong team attachments. At which point, like, look, we're an organization that's like pretty honest. Like, we're going to be very upfront about things we're working on. We're going to be very upfront about things we don't know, and we're going to try to do our best to like give you access to how we're thinking about things, how we're looking at the game, like being in the NBA, right? Like, people talk a ton about why people make decisions, and then like you can then at home be like, oh, if I had your information, what decision would I make? And we'd love to hear it. And that's sort of the type of fan we also like as well. And there's a third type of fan, which is like the really unfortunate situation where like, you know, if you're a fan of like Immortals, Dignitas, Envy, P1, then like we'd love for you to come support our team. We'll be in the LCS. That's just actually true. So, like, if you want to like rip, right? If you want to be a fan of a team that's going to like try really hard to like earn you as a fan, we're that. And we're not just going to be here and like trying to do our best, right? And so let me know what's up.
Well, let me ask you about just, I guess, fan bases in general for teams, because I've always found it weird. I never understood how a team approaches it, because I feel like with people, they're not really fans of teams, they're fans of players, and it's really like once a player leaves, like a team just loses a huge chunk of their fan base if it was like a fan favorite or something. How do you approach that to make it so it's more about the team? I mean, even though obviously like star players are star players, but how do you make it more about the team?
Yeah, so I think that's actually one of the big reasons why people like franchising, right? Because the problem in the past is you just have no incentive to be invested in the team. Because like, look, like my player, like rosters up until now, and including this offseason, are just completely getting blown up. Like with the exception of a couple of teams, every team is like, just like, you know what, screw this. Let's just get completely new everyone, right? And so it's hard for you to keep up with that. The hope is that like once you have a league, and if this game is going through multiple years, then you can be like, yo, I've been a fan of this team for so long. And hopefully, at least for us, right, like a lot of the guys that we're looking at and we're signing and trying to get with are not people we think that will like, oh, we're just going to use them for a couple of years to throw them to the wayside. No, they're guys who we want to like be a part of our organization. Like the Rockets are really known for this in basketball. Like James Harden, we signed. He said it's the best 5 years of his life. We had Yao Ming his entire career. We brought in Akeem Olajuwon. He just freaking crushed it, right? And so we're in the same boat where it's like, look, we want the best fans we want to have are our former players. Our former players should be the guys who are like, yo, I want to keep rooting for Clutch Gaming because those guys are the ones who gave me a home in NALCS. And so that's step one. And then step two is like, just give it some time, man. Like if y'all have kids, y'all kids should be fans of Clutch Gaming, and then their kids will be fans of Clutch Gaming. Hopefully we can just make this thing work out.
That's looking real late. I like that, man.
That's a very future oriented.
Scott, on the topic of what he said about the players should be fans, let me ask you,
oh God.
So when you left Dignitas to CLG, have you ever told yourself like, dude, I fucking love Dignitas. Dignitas, that's my fucking team right there. You think that that's something that a player would? I just can't imagine a world where a player's like, I fucking love this team, dude, but I'm leaving it and going to another team.
I think if there were different circumstances, yes. But after like the Dignitas thing happened, I felt more like in line with CLG but I was only in CLG for like a year. And so I would say if I stuck longer with CLG, it probably would have been like, I probably would have been like more loyal to them. At the moment, like probably my biggest connection with CLG is some of the players and like, Tony, I'm good friends with them. But yeah, like I wouldn't say necessarily that I feel very attached to an org at the moment as one of the most, kind of veteran people in the scene. That seems kind of wrong. Maybe it's different for other people. I'm sure. Kitty, what do you think about Dignitas? You feel that?
Hell no, connection? Fuck that shit, dude. I mean, the thing is like, I imagine there must be players that like love their org and like something will happen and they'll leave, but still have the love. But I just can't imagine like an org just based off of Dignitas. I imagine it's a lot different now, but just based off of what I've known from Dignitas, I couldn't imagine leaving an org and being like, I'm never going to find an organization like this again. They're the best goddamn group of fucking people, and I had to leave it for whatever fucking reason. So
I mean, I could see that. Like, let's say you're part of an org and you're just like, you're doing a great job. It's like old FlyQuest. You really like all the players. Your staff is great. All that stuff. All of a sudden, a big giant guy comes in named Steve, drops a sack of money at your feet, and just like, how loyal are you? And you're just like, you know what? I love the color green. And you just take it and run. But
yeah, you'd be like, fuck FlyQuest, dude. Yeah. I'm going to fucking Team Liquid.
Yeah, but while you're looking back, you're just like, dude, I still love you guys, man. You're my best buds. It's still, you're still loyal to them. You just like the color green.
You're just loyal to the money. I can respect that.
I mean, look, man. You guys, like, I've been talking to a lot of guys in Korea recently, and like, I'm just like, and they're like, yo, like, do you have like $1 million for me? I'm like, yo, I don't got $1 million for you. But like, if you can get $1 million, you gotta do what's best for your family and yourself, man. Take that $1 million and run out that door. Get that ink on paper real quick and go. Cause like, that stuff's crazy. But I think that's like different though, right? Like, that's not like if someone was like, let's say like a player was like, oh, they were offered a ton more money and we couldn't match it. Like, that's not like anger, right? That's like, yo, dude, you're about to make a ton of money. Go have fun. We'll see you in a couple of years when you are on the downswing of your career. You can come back. You can play like as a sub for us, man.
Wow, dude.
I like that, man. Wait, so are Korean players really getting paid? Like, Sky, I don't know. I guess either
a lot of it is true.
It's obscene amounts.
It's obscene amounts. A lot of people are getting overpaid this offseason. And
wait, you say it's overpaid?
Yeah, I would say so. Because I would say players should be paid based on how much you can get back from the players, right? And I say, especially for the first year, 100% getting a lot of players getting overpaid. Maybe, like Sebastian says, over time we'll be like, wow, it was a steal getting this guy at this much. But that's like very long term focused. And especially because the contracts are like 3 years, even a second year down the line, if you get paid the exact same, I'd still be like, that's pretty good. You guys are doing a good job. Yeah, I think they are getting overpaid, but I don't mind that. The only thing I care about is like, is there any extra money on the side? Because I love money, and I like the Houston Rockets, stuff like that.
That's what I like to hear, Sky.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, I think first of all, like, there's no reason. Again, if you want to ask for, look, I would ask for $1 million if I could. Like, look, if Steve wants to hire me and has an offer for $1 million, I'm all for it, man. Like, just give me a call. I'll put you. I'll like go find an agent, and like we'll go from there, man. Like, but and Steve, I love you, man. I love you and Victor both. Just, but like, it's one of those things where, in that vein, it's you just got like, if you want that, you just got to start there and go from there, man. Like, it's again, it's at the end of the day, it's business, and that business part is what we understand. It's like, look, go get paid, take care of your family. It's probably the case you can't do this forever. And so let's go from there. And then, but the flip side of that is like, if I think they do this really well at a lot of sports teams where they like the guys who are like really the lifers for the team. And even if they go play for other teams, like they come back, they sign like a 10-day contract and then retire as like a member of the team. Like we love to have players who we like have relationships with such that when they want to retire, they come back, we sign them to like the freaking academy roster minimum. And they're like, yo, thanks for all your service, man. Call it a day. Retire in our jersey and we'll go from there.
Oh, actually, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be pretty legit. All right.
Yeah, man. If you guys want to come like be mentors to our Army players, man, let me know. Like,
look at this guy right here, dude. That was a power play move. I'm gonna have to go with no, but Sky, let him know. What's your decision?
I love mentoring people, but I also really like my position as a support on Delta Fox, so I unfortunately have to pass as well.
Good shit. I like that. All right, though. Let's go to the final topic, the best topic, the live question and answer topic, where they got questions, we got answers. Before we take a question from the people in chat, though, I got a question. I want to ask you guys, how hyped are you for the LCS to start again with franchising? Because I'll be honest, I haven't watched LCS for fucking ever since they went to like best of threes or whatever. Like people went crazy about that shit, like they loved it, but I fucking hated best of threes. I really hope that it fucking goes back to being like a huge fucking spectacle that it once was. Because I feel like with best of threes, it was kind of, people were kind of getting bored of that shit real fast. So how hyped are you guys for LCS?
Sebastian, take it away.
Dude, I'm hyped as hell, man. I have a job. Like, if I wasn't...
Yeah, come on. What kind of answer do you think he's gonna give, Scott?
Bro, like, let's be real here, man. Like, if I wasn't LCS feared, I'm not sure if I'd have a job. So, like, I'm hyped as hell. We're excited. We're ready to go. I'm super excited to watch some of these best of ones, especially like I want to see like Golden Guardians versus like 100 Thieves, and like I would love to see some like drama there. See what TSM's up to. See what Team Liquid does, man. I think Team Liquid's gonna be a really fun team to watch if the rumors are true. I'm not sure if they'll be rooting. I'd be rooting for them, but like there'll be a fun team to watch for sure. So.
I think it's just going to be funny because it's a best of one. So I remember when I was on Dignitas and we'd start seasons out like 5-0. Literally, we'd have the best record ever. And teams would have to play us because we were the top, and people would hate scrimming us because we sucked. Like, relative to our rating. Like, at least didn't play that well. And so I think that could also happen in a best of one the next season where, you got 3 weeks into the season, you still don't know who's the best team. You're just like, is it the guy at the top of the ladder, or is it like this guy in the middle of the pack where, they're still shaking some stuff out?
All right. Let's get to the questions now. This is a good question. From As the Rush comes 13, he wants to know, this will be for all of us, how many retired pros do you think will start coming back for the money? Throw out names or account. I think a lot of people are going to say, like, I know a lot of people, they stopped taking the game as serious as they once did. I'm not sure why, but I imagine there's going to be a lot of players that were old or retired or weren't very good that are going to start fucking grinding at it again to get back into this shit. I want to ask Sebastian, have any of these I don't want to call them old, like retired players asked you for like, hey, dude, look into me. Like, hey, I'm still pretty good. I used to play in an LCS team. You get any of that?
Yeah, so we get like a couple of those a day, and so the last few days, and so I mean it's only been 3 days since we announced, so it's like maybe like 8, 10 total. Our big thing for them is like, yo, like you haven't played in a couple of years. Like, the game changed a ton. A lot of things have like everyone's a lot better now. Like if you thought someone said this other day where they're like, yo, like they think that a NA mid now could be like 2013 Faker. Now, I'm not sure if that's necessarily true, but like that sounds about right to me. Like people have gotten so much better all over like the LCS and all over the world that like if you were pretty good 2 years ago and you haven't improved in the last 2 years, you're probably not as good anymore. Which doesn't mean you can't get back there, but you probably will be hard pressed to find like a starting job at any LCS team.
Scar, how many people you think are going to be trying to come back from retirement for this? You think
everyone?
You think everyone's going to be going for it?
Well, one of the big things is this is the first time where you can like, it's like what skills did you gain being an LCS professional player?
Teamwork, teamwork, communication. Come on, Scar, what are you talking about? Like you build a resume off that shit.
You're right. So when you go up to like, you know, big companies, just like, I have teamwork. That's when they throw their resume back at you and leave you on the curb. I think that professional players don't have much in terms of like a step back, and a lot of people only know to play games, you know? And maybe their streaming careers weren't very successful or whatever their careers afterwards playing weren't successful, but they know how to play video games. They know especially how to play League of Legends. I think that some of these people are just like looking for a thing to do that can make them money and that they enjoy. And League of Legends commonly does everything that they want.
Yo, I'm just gonna jump in real quick. Like, what you guys do is freaking hard. Like, in having seen the Hearthstone side of this and the Dota side of this, streaming is not easy. And so there are a lot of people, like a lot of pro players I've met, think, oh, you know what? I'm just gonna go stream. I'm gonna have the cutie pie life. Just make like millions of dollars, just like streaming all the time. No big deal. And you don't realize how freaking hard it is to be able to do this on a regular basis. And the amount of like thinking that's going into like making sure your schedule's good, your time slot's good, the type of fans you're getting are good, the type of like retention is good. All that stuff is hard. And on top of that, you basically can't take vacations either, right? Like at least as an LCS player, you have like the off season. If you're a streamer, the off season is your season, you know? So.
Wait,
stuff's crazy.
You brought up an interesting topic, and I just found it. But you said you used to work with like, or you talk to like streamers or whatever. Do people actually look at their like retention, like all that kind of bullshit analytics? Because I'll say like, I don't think I've ever once opened up my analytics thing to like look at any of this shit. Like, Sky, have you ever looked at like this is the peak where chat just started going crazy. I'm going to rewatch my VOD now, see what I did to make them go crazy. Like you have...
people don't go that crazy, except for maybe on YouTube where the analytics actually like matter. Like you can get good analytics from YouTube. Twitch analytics are just like, you have a bar graph.
I think more stuff is just like especially I've seen Hearthstone is like time slot matters a ton. And like, it really sucks when like, so your quote-unquote friend like shifts his or her time slot into your time slot, and suddenly you go from like 30,000 to 10,000. You're like, crap.
Yeah, I think a lot of the content creators do look at that. You know, you're like kind of the exception on that regard. I really don't care enough to do it either. But like a lot of people are just like, okay, well if I stream this block to this block, or like I'll like do this to this. Like they look back on especially their YouTube content, they're like, this wasn't funny enough. This wasn't that good. Like, when did people stop watching? I know I talked to our editor, and he's just like, okay, like, if our retention rate doesn't hit this much, like, or this much, like, what went wrong with the video? Was it like a fluke? Was there something wrong? Like, they're very, very detail oriented because, at least on the YouTube perspective of things, you can get a lot from looking at the stats. The streaming perspective, you just kind of just like, you can just wing it, honestly.
Dude, I've talked to my YouTube editor, and like every time it's just like, hey dude, put out more fucking videos. Like I've never had a conversation with him where he was like talking to me about like the analytics, like, dude, we're not getting enough likes to dislike ratio and like all this bullshit. It's just like, put out more fucking videos, you fuck. And then he's like, okay. That's like the depth of our conversation.
How many editors do you have in your channel, Keith?
I now have, again, I will say, I used to only have one editor, and I was saying, I kept telling him, put out more videos, you fuck, and he was like, I can't do it, I can't. That's what I fucking hate. He just told me I can't, so now he hired another person, so now I have 2, I think, or 3. I don't know how many he hired. I don't really talk to him about that shit, so. Dude, maybe I just got lucky, because, yeah, my schedule was just when I wasn't scrimming, I was streaming, so I just ended up keeping that schedule. But
I think especially if you're top dog like you are, like you can ignore other people's schedules. But like I know for a fact, dude, people are just like, I stream at this time because Cutie doesn't stream or Sneaky doesn't stream. Like I don't care actually. I'll stream like in the middle of your block. But like to be honest, if I went to get the best viewership, I would stream probably
the middle of the night or some shit?
No, either that or starting right before you finish. Because between you and Sneaky is like a big time slot, which is very good to stream that.
I was at like a kickback the other day, and I legit heard this person. I won't say his name. He was like, "Yo, I'm so glad Cloud9 qualified for Worlds because that means that Sneaky won't be streaming for 3 weeks. That's some free money right there."
Hey, I can respect that, man. I mean, I guess it makes sense, yeah, like for people that want to just get started or people that are like middle of like the pack streaming. I don't know what other phrase to use for that. Yeah, schedules and shit do matter a lot. I don't know. It just sounded funny to me the way that it was described. So,
dude, you actually have something that like a lot of the other streamers can't do, which is like you stream consistently 240 a month. And everyone I talk to is just like 240 a month. How do I do that? Like they get tired at like 120 or like 150. And then you're just like a workhorse, man.
Yeah, you just gotta like playing League of Legends, man. It's that fucking easy.
That's what I'm saying, right? But like a lot of people like can't do that, especially if like they're playing Hearthstone. They play Hearthstone 240 hours a month.
Yeah, I can't imagine with Hearthstone. Yeah, Hearthstone is like a different beast because that. I mean, from what I've never played Hearthstone. I tried watching a stream of it once. I watched Disguised Toast, who I think he's at your house, Scar, right?
Yeah.
I watched him. I think the meta was like these stupid fucking pirates or some shit. And it was just every single fucking game hearing like Patches the Pirate with his like stupid ass bullshit. I just got so tired of watching it. I can't imagine fucking playing that game. Like I'd want to just tear my hair out. But let's go to another topic now. So, Boss wants to know for Sebastian, why would a player come to play for Clutch Gaming instead of a big-time established team like TSM, Cloud9, Team Liquid, or CLG?
So, I mean, I think the big one is that if you think that there are inefficiencies that maybe the LCS teams aren't doing it perfectly and you want to give it a try, then you should definitely reach out, right? Like, I think one of the fun things that we're doing right now is, like, our coaching structure is actually super different. Like, I think a lot of people try to structure their coaching structure around how Korean teams do it, which is this like older dude who knows a lot and his word's final. And our structure is far more like the NBA, which is a lot more collaborative. And if you like work better with like multiple people helping you out, you might be in a better fit for us. The second thing is like, look, if you're up and coming or if you want to make a name for yourself, like we're a good org for that. We're a good org where you can come in and we're very much willing to like take a look and look critically at everyone and not just like read Reddit for the hype of who to hire and who not to hire. If we had to go strictly on Reddit based on who Reddit thought was good and bad, I think our team would be like either insanely good and insanely expensive or like mediocre. So like I think it'd be both of those two things. If you're the type of player who's just like trying to do really well, come give us a ring.
All right, speaking of mediocre, we're going to end this show on one final question. I want to know if the ADC position is the only spot that's needing to be filled by Clutch Gaming and you had 2 choices. You needed to pick between I'm a Cutie Pie or Double Lift. Who would you pick?
Would you stop streaming?
Ooh.
That's it. All right.
It
depends what is the schedule like for a player now? Because I remember when I used to play, the only time that was like really necessary was like practice time, which is basically when I was streaming, so the whole day, and then like scrim time. Like, how's the structure now for being a pro?
I think it's similar. I mean, it's a little bit more intense in that there's structure around it. There are more people to help you out and like help identify your flaws. But like, quite frankly, like if you want to put in the work again and you want to like take the 240 hours of a month that you stream and go back to like try and be like the best AD carry in the world, like give us a call.
Wait, but would you say, because this is a comparison now, so over double lift, you would take me over him in a heartbeat. Just if I was asking for 20 million and he was asking for 1, who would you take?
Oh, if he was asking for 1, we definitely take the 1. That's value delta.
Wait, come on. Okay, if I was asking for 5 and he was asking for 1.
No, I mean, so that means so you'd have to be 5 times better than him.
And do you believe that?
I mean, I think you could be like some percentage better than him.
Some percentage? What kind of? Come on. Okay, 2.
5 times better?
Okay,
Dude,
if I was asking,
really hard. Dude.
No. Okay, if I was asking for 2 and he was asking for 1, where would you put it?
Okay, now we're getting closer. We, if you were, how many? Is the last result you have the 6th place result from Delta Fox still? Or is it the Tyler?
No, Tyler Championship Invitationals. I made it to the finals. Soon to be winning.
How many Challenger players did you stomp in that tournament? Like 3?
I have no idea.
Right?
They're all Challenger, actually.
Oh, they're all Challenger?
Very rarely did we face a team which had less than 3 Challenger players.
Okay.
They're actually all Challenger.
So, I think I think right now we're getting closer. We're still leaning double lift, especially cheaper. The real question you should be asking, dude, is what if you got $1 million and double lift got a lot more? Then I think it's a little bit like harder to answer.
Wait, what do you mean? Wait, what are you trying to say about that? Wait, what do you? How's that the real question? The real question is how much are you willing to just settle for double lift?
I mean, it's a good question, man. Like, it's a good question. I think it depends on the support. I think it depends on the type of style you want to play. I think it depends a lot on the meta. It depends on like how much you want to stream. You couldn't stream before the LCS anymore. You'd have to go to the LCS. And you have to go to the arena and show up. That'd be hard.
All right, fair enough. So I'll just take it that at 2 million, you would go with me?
At 2 million, we'd have to examine whether or not and figure out your schedule. See if it was worth considering, and then I have to take it back to my guys, my scouts and analysts. Those guys are the real brains of the operation. So
okay, I can.
Oh, so who's your main scout, your head analyst in this situation? Because I'm just curious.
For QD, it's a couple guys we don't talk about.
A couple guys, all right.
Oh,
Dude, some divine beings, the only people worthy of judging my talent. Scar, let me ask you then. If you made an up-and-coming team and they got into the LCS franchising, QD asks you 2 million, Double Lift asks you 1. Who are you going to pick?
I take both and then take your salary because you're earning more than that, so that I just come out ahead. I pay for both with your salary.
All right,
yeah, no, that's totally true, man. You take both and you sell 1 to Steve. There we go.
Well, that'll work too, man. I love you so much. I definitely take you. It just there might be some chains in the contract. Might be some stipulations.
I can respect that then. All right, then we're gonna conclude this Beyond the Rift. I want to give a big shout out to Sebastian. Thank you for coming out, Sebastian. If the people want to see more from Clutch Gaming or from Sebastian, where can they see some more of that stuff?
So you should follow us on Twitter at Clutch Gaming. I'm on Twitter at SebPark, SEBPARK. And then you should come out to week 1 of the LCS sometime in January.
Scar, if the people want more of you, man, where can they get you?
Find me on Twitter or Twitch under Scara. I stream 6 days, almost 7 days a week. So find me anytime there. I'm also on Twitter all the time. And I'll be, I think, streaming, making a turkey pretty soon. Cooking a turkey.
You're cooking a turkey? Dude, good luck, man. Did you defrost that shit?
Holy crap.
Trust me, I'm already expecting humongous failure and us to have to go to Chinese takeout.
Yeah, you're going to have to. If they didn't, I'm hoping they defrosted it.
No, it is.
Okay.
It is.
Yeah, because we tried making it last year. It was a fucking disaster. But the sides were good. The sides were good as fuck.
You got to order that stuff right now because basically people are going to screw up their turkeys in the next 2 hours and start ordering it. There'll be a big backlog. If you pre-order the Chinese food, you can get it by the time you screw up.
This guy knows how to do Thanksgiving. That's a good fucking call.
Oh, man.
But anyway,
okay.
That's going to be it for Beyond the Rift. Thanks for joining us today, friends. Have a good Thanksgiving. See you next week. Peace.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Happy Thanksgiving.